Hi, good afternoon. Welcome everybody, and welcome to our webinar series called Expert Speak in association with IAPSC, the International Association for Business Analytics Certification. Let us start by giving you a brief about the speaker for today, Dr. Sandeep Teki. Sandeep is an established leader in applied artificial intelligence and neurosciences with more than 16 years of experience working in the US, UK, and India with leading organizations in big tech like Amazon and Alexa AI, with unicorn startups like Swiggy, and with academia like the Wellcome Trust Fellow at Oxford. He also holds a PhD in cognitive neuroscience from the University College London. And Sandeep has published more than 40 papers on top AI and neurosciences conferences and journals like InterSpeech and Calling, the International Conference on Computational Linguistics, with more than 2,600 citations. His work has been recognized with several awards by international organizations like the Royal Society, the Wellcome Trust, Oxford University, and the University College London. Today, he'll be covering the topic that is on the top of everyone's mind, that is how to become an AI engineer. So, just one request to all the participants, please post your questions in the chat and we'll present it to Sandeep at the end of the presentation. Over to you, Sandeep.
Thank you, Ram. Thank you for the introduction. I'll start with sharing my screen. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, Sandeep.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you again, Ram, and the team to invite me for this webinar on how to become an AI engineer. So we are living in very exciting times in the field of AI, and it's great to see so much interest and enthusiasm. And thank you all for joining today's session. So without further delay, I'll start with a brief introduction to myself, building on what Ram has already mentioned. So I have got experience across different domains, including academia, industry, both big tech as well as startups. So this has given me an understanding of how AI is built and deployed both in academic settings, research settings, as well as production settings at almost the scale of millions to hundreds of millions of customers. So today I would like to share my experience of both working in large AI organizations and hiring engineers for machine learning and artificial intelligence, and share my perspective on how you all can potentially become an AI engineer if you're not one already. Right? So briefly, I'll cover three topics, like how has the role for a software engineer changed over the last 20 to 30 years? What is it that an AI engineer actually does? And what are the skills that you need to develop and master in order to become a very good AI engineer, right? And please feel free to share your questions in the chat window, and I will address them towards the end of today's session. Right? So if you look at the evolution of software engineering, right? So personal computing, the personal computer came about and gained popularity in the 1980s. And then we had a lot of engineers in software who started working on the operating system. They are the engineers who built Windows and then other operating systems as well that came out, right? Then with the advent of the internet in the mid-90s, we saw another explosion in the field of software engineering, and we started having engineers who created websites of all kinds, right? So the next great innovation in the field was the rise of mobile computing. So in 2006, Apple's iPhone launched, and with that, the iOS became a great marketplace where any developer could build and launch their own apps and companies associated with them. corresponding to the advent of iOS, we also had the open source Android operating system for mobile phones. And then 2006 also was the year in which cloud started emerging from Amazon Web Services, and then other cloud companies also entered the foray. So the cloud engineer role became very prominent in the late 2000s and the early 2010s, right? And then we come to like the last 8 to 10 years when deep learning really took place, and it broke out of being just a study, a subject of study in academic labs, and it entered the mainstream industry. Then we started seeing data scientists, machine learning engineers, data engineers, and now more recently in the past year, since the advent of generative AI models like stable diffusion models, Chat GPT and GPT-4 and other such large language and vision models, we see the rise of the new profile of an AI engineer, where these engineers are required and tasked to build generative AI applications. So one thing to keep in mind when you look at the timeline of, as shown in this figure, is that the role of software engineering has evolved a lot and is going to continue evolving as new technologies come about. And it is very important for those of us in this field to continuously upskill ourselves if we want to stay ahead of the curve, right? Because what happens with new technologies also is that some of the older technologies get outmoded and are no longer relevant and no longer sought after skills, right? So that is one point that I would like you all to take away. Even though today AI engineering is a very exciting field and there are lots of jobs and opportunities, but keep in mind that you have to continuously keep learning and stay abreast of new emerging technologies. Right? So now we come to what it is that an AI engineer actually does in an industry setting. So if you look at any AI engineering job description on LinkedIn or other job platforms, you will see some sort of responsibilities like this, right? So AI engineers have to design and implement generative AI models based on GPT, large language models, retrieval augmented systems, stable diffusion, multimodal models. You're asked to continuously research and apply the latest developments in the field. Since in the last 2 months already, we have seen many new models come out, which are not only smaller, but also tend to give better accuracy in certain domains. So it is very important for us to keep abreast of the latest developments and keep refining and updating the models that you have deployed to production. Other responsibilities might include developing and maintaining high quality, scalable, and efficient AI systems. So there is also an aspect of systems engineering to build models and infrastructure that can support many millions of customers using the platform or the product at the same time. And this also includes other responsibilities such as building pipelines focused on data preparation, prompt engineering, fine-tuning those models, and also efficient documentation to help onboard new employees as well as raise organizational awareness of generative AI. So if you look at these responsibilities, you might say that they are not that different from what we have seen previously. If you look at ML engineer or data engineers, it's just that the tech stack has changed and the end use case that the companies are interested in has changed a lot. So I will touch upon some of the skills and the new sort of technologies that have led to the rise of generative AI in a few slides from now. But it's important to keep in mind from this slide is that AI engineering is an evolving field, and what might be required today or what might be state of art as of now may already become outdated 6 months from now. So it's important to ensure that you stay on top of the field, read what's happening in both research and industry settings. Now, if any of you are curious and would like to get your hands dirty with building small AI engineering applications, I would recommend you to check out the AI Engineer YouTube channel, from where you can go through this AI Engineering 101 and AI Engineering 201 slides. These two talks are around roughly 4 hours long, and the speaker walks you through a number of different applications, such as chatbots built on top of the new large language models and the entire infrastructure that is required to build and support these applications. So the slides are available, and you will be able to access the slides and go through these links whenever you have time for yourself. Right. So now, coming to the main topic that I would like to focus a lot on today is, what are the skills that are required of an AI engineer, right? So again, if you look and comb through several different job descriptions, you will see that AI engineers are required to collect data, make sure that annotation of data and preparation of training data is done well. Also focus on the modeling aspect, not just training the model from scratch, but also fine-tuning and serving the model into a production pipeline, building APIs, understanding how large language models, large vision models work, so that you can come up with your own algorithms and ideas to improve upon the existing state of the art. And also, models like GPTs still are a lot like black box models, and it is still an evolving state of evolving situation, where how do we get the models to respond appropriately in fast enough time and be specific and precise in the answers. So prompt engineering is one way to get responses from these large language models, but there are also other systems that have come about as well. It's also reinforced learning based human feedback, embeddings, vector databases, diffusion models. These are some of the other keywords and technologies that you will see AI engineers are supposed to be stay on top of. And concomitant to the rise of the generative AI field, we also see the development of new libraries, both open source as well as closed APIs, such as Llama Index, LangChain, Ragas, and we have the big platform for generative AI tools like Midjourney, OpenAI, Anthropic, Cohere, AWS, etc. Right. So it might seem that it's quite overwhelming and that you have to do a lot, but the key to upskill in these domains is to actually work backwards. So if you are attracted to a particular company or excited by a particular use case, whether it's, let's say, a chatbot for customer service or a bot for enterprise knowledge management, you understand what is required to solve the business problem, and then break it down into smaller module components and focus on those particular modules, which might focus more on the data or the modeling or the serving side, to be able to actually ship an app or a product quick enough. And then you can continuously iterate it based on feedback and so on. Right? So in this slide, I will focus on how can you actually build a foundation. So a lot of you might be at a stage in your career where you're just starting out, where you might be fresh graduates with a degree in engineering or computer science. And the state of data science, machine learning, and AI has evolved a lot in the last 20 years. When I graduated, statistics was the entry point for a lot of us. And then today, this present generation is seeing the rise of generative AI. So while you upskill yourself in some of the latest models and techniques like large language models, it is also important to keep in mind the history of and the evolution of the field, starting from simple rule-based and statistical models. One more thing that I will suggest and recommend to all you folks here is that building production systems does not always require sophisticated solutions, such as generative AI models. Even simpler models, such as those based on rules or feature engineered machine learning models, might also serve the business use case quite quickly and cheaply. So this is important to do, keep in mind. And if you have a broader understanding of the entire field, starting from statistics to machine learning, deep learning, and generative AI, you will be able to come up with the right approach and methodology for solving the particular problem that you're tackling. Right. And in terms of learning resources, there are a lot of companies, platforms, courses out there already. I don't want to overwhelm you all by sharing a big list of resources, but I have curated a select number of platforms such as Coursera, deeplearning.ai by Andrew Ng. Full Stack Deep Learning has a very good course on which is focused on both deep learning and a more recent one on large language models. Stanford's computer science courses are all open source, and you can check out the entire curriculum, including the slides, homework, and assignments. And the advantage of Stanford's courses are that these courses are regularly updated every year and incorporate some of the latest findings in the field. So some of the courses that I mentioned cover general deep learning, AI, computer vision, NLP, large language models. And depending on your interest, you can go deeper into these courses and go through the entire course, just like a student yourself, right? The first 3-4 courses focus a lot more maybe on theory with some focus on deployment as well. But if you are someone who is keen to work in industry, it is important to realize that the value of what you're building is not met until you build the apps that become customer facing, which means that you have to deploy your models to production, which then have to start interacting with the end customer and serve predictions for you to actually realize the benefit and impact of your work. So it's also important to keep in mind the deployment of these models into production. How do you monitor the performance of these models? How do you respond to errors and other issues that might emerge while the models are working online? So Made with ML is a good platform where you can go through different modules that cover the entire end-to-end journey of machine learning from the raw data through to the model that is deployed in production. At the same time, a lot of companies, including startups, have their underlying infrastructure based in cloud. So both Amazon, Azure from Microsoft, Google, Oracle, Salesforce, and others are popular cloud platforms that are used commonly. So it is also helpful sometimes to align your learning to the cloud platform that is being used or deployed at your company so that you are aware of the specific nuances of the tools within that cloud platform. So one of the links that I've shared is from Microsoft, which covers the sort of learning journey for an AI engineer. And lastly, the YouTube link that I've shared is something that I've alluded to earlier, refers to the AI engineer handle, where you can see a lot of different experts in the field present use cases, demos, and tutorials on different AI engineering applications. Moving on, so let's say you have gone through some of these courses and materials. What is it that you should do next? All right, so it's important to transfer the learning that you have and actually show it to the rest of the world. So you should build your portfolio where you can start working on small projects based on your interest or based on the companies and the domains in which those are operating. So let's say you are interested in education, you can look up some data sets that are relevant, let's say on Kaggle or Google datasets, and think about how you can apply those technologies to solve specific use cases. You can build out the entire product or application, showcase your code on GitHub, create an app, let's say using Streamlit or any of the cloud APIs, and also blog about the project, right? So if you do this thing, then it gives more confidence to potential recruiters and hiring managers that this particular candidate has not only learned the theoretical fundamentals, but has actually also transferred that understanding into building an app that works on real world data. Right? So it's very important for you to evangelize your own work, and then you can start sharing your blogs and products that you might apps that you might have built on relevant platforms or groups on X or LinkedIn or specific AI communities on Slack, Discord, WhatsApp, etc. Right? And this is one way for you to potentially have hiring managers reach out to you when you build something of value that people find interesting. You will see that you're building a lot more momentum and creating a lot more visibility for your profile, and it will lead to more inbound requests for potential job or other opportunities, right? And the other aspect that is important from perspective of hiring manager is that if you build out a project, let's say a generative AI project, this is something that you can even talk about in your interviews. So think about the entire journey from doing a course to building an app to doing well in an interview where you are able to share in detail what you have built, why you have selected certain tools and technologies, and how you have built out. So if that thought process is clear and it comes across very clearly to the hiring team or panel, then you have greater chances of success in converting that job interview into a formal offer, right? And similar to what I've said, it's very important to not stop building your personal profile and brand once you have got a job opportunity. It's important to be proactive in the field, whatever platforms that you are usually active on. Keep sharing content, engaging with others who share content that is of interest to you. Beyond online platforms, also engage in physical meetups, speak to people who are probably working on similar problems, but with a different thought process or a different mindset, so that you can continuously expand your horizons and learn more about how people are solving different AI use cases, right? And finally, I think there is not much of an excuse in today's world for most of us to not have a website of our own. It's very easy to create a landing page. Now, even using generative AI tools, you can create a landing page within minutes. And this landing page or website should be a one-stop page which talks about everything that you have done in AI, right? So showcase all your projects, all your blogs, all the skills that you have. And if you share content and link to your website, eventually it will become more active and popular, and people might reach out to you through your website as well for potential opportunities. Right? And finally, coming to actually making the transition. So you will find that there is already a lot of knowledge and wisdom out there in terms of how to upscale, what to learn, etc. Similar to what I have just talked about in the previous two slides. But it's very important to actually make that transition practically. Join a company where you can build these AI apps and production systems. So it's very important for you to focus on what kind of company or what kind of problem is really exciting for you, right? And narrow down a short list of companies, whether it's a big tech company or a multinational company or even a startup, or even startups which offer remote opportunities, right? So first thing that you should look at is the company and the domain and the kind of problems they're solving. Evaluate the use cases, evaluate the team that is working on these systems. Try to build your intuition of the business domain, whether it's retail or healthcare or finance or education, marketing, etc. Because every domain has different subtleties depending on the data that is typically associated with that domain. So typically I have seen is that data scientists who have some relevant domain expertise are able to come up with approaches that are more unique and novel than those who just apply the same thought process to any problem, regardless of the domain, right? And once you evaluate the job description, or let's say you had a call or a conversation with a recruiter, then assess whether you truly have the skills to do well in the interviews and in the job as well. And if you feel that you're not as confident in some of those skills, then you take out some time, plan your learning path, and diligently apply yourself for half an hour to an hour a day at the minimum, and start practicing those skills, right? And when it actually comes to going on the job market, you should be well prepared, and you should already have your short list of companies, people who might be working in those companies who can provide a referral to you, or other contacts, so that you can apply simultaneously at multiple companies, learn about the relevant people in those companies, the pros and cons, the working culture, etc. And if you have the results and the outcomes from all these interviews in roughly around the same time, then you'll be able to make a more intuitive and a more comprehensive decision and judgment about which is the best fit for you in terms of growing your career towards the next stage. So that's all I had to say. I will wrap up with this last final slide on general career advice. Some of it I've already mentioned previously, but for someone working in the field of AI, which is moving so rapidly, where technologies might become outmoded within a year as well, it's very important to have curiosity and develop a learning mindset, because even the skills that you're trying to learn today may not be relevant or as relevant in a couple of years from now. So try to continuously take out some time, maybe if not on the weekdays, or then on the weekends, an hour or two, to read without any agenda apart from different AI newsletters, blog posts, research papers, conference proceedings, listen to podcasts, and see how the field of AI is changing. And is there something out there that is new and exciting for you, right? Similar to just learning about AI, it's also important to develop your domain understanding. Let's say if you're interested in healthcare, then how is AI transforming the healthcare landscape? How is generative AI being used? What are the challenges? What are some of the solutions and companies out there operating in this domain? That is also something that you should continuously keep an eye on. And then optimize for roles and teams and companies where you can continuously learn and grow. Try to evaluate based on your own understanding of teams which have good and strong, inspiring managers who can really help you grow your career, be good mentors, and develop your career to the next stage. Right? And if you are one of those candidates who are seeking your first ever job in industry, then I would like to have you understand that your first manager job or company typically has an outsized influence on your career. So try to surround yourself with the smartest people out there from whom you can learn a lot in the early years before you develop more from a generalist to a specialist in your field. So apart from the team, the culture is also very important, which may be different from one team to the other. But on average, every company has more or less similar culture across different departments. So try to get a sense of that. Be prepared with questions that help you evaluate the culture in the job interviews and make an informed decision by even talking to employees at those companies, or friends or colleagues, etc. In terms of career planning, it's both important to keep a time scale which is on the shorter horizon. Let's say immediately, if you're seeking a job in the next year, what do you want to do in the next 1 or 2 years? And also on a slightly longer time scale, let's say if you have aspirations for higher studies, either a master's or PhD or something else, or you want to build your own company, then work backwards from those long-term goals of yours and try to work in companies or on use cases where you want to go deeper into for the rest of your career, right? And be open to change, and remember that career is not a sprint. It's not a 100-meter dash to the finishing line. It's a long marathon. A lot of situations might come about not only in the professional field of AI, but also in your personal life. And you have to understand how you personally are evolving and try to work in companies where it's a good fit for you and where you are inspired to perform and deliver at your best. So with that, I will conclude my presentation and look forward to any questions from you. Thank you, everyone. Feel free to connect with me on Twitter or on LinkedIn. And the slides for today are available at my website at sandeepteki.org/talks. Thank you. So I'll go through the Q&A tab on from at Zoom and go through the questions one by one. So Mohammed has a question. Can we have a certificate at the end of the webinar? I think the team is already replying to that. Next up, there's a question from Rajneesh. What industries or sectors are currently seeking AI engineers? And in which sector is the demand expected to grow? That's a good question, Rajneesh. One thing that I would say is that although there might be one or a few sectors where there is especially higher demand for AI engineers, but what I am seeing is that every industry is open to change and adopting generative AI. For example, all the big consulting companies, whether it's PwC or KPMG, are investing billions of dollars in generative AI to serve their clients. And these big consulting companies have clients in all the domains. So what I would say is that generative AI is a truly transformational technology. There's not going to be a certain domain that will not be affected by generative AI. So you can expect there to be opportunities in most of the sectors. But as I mentioned in the last couple of slides, it's important for you to understand and realize what sector, what problem truly excites you, and go deeper into that sector and then identify the opportunities and the problems to work on. Okay, next question is from Hari. Are there specific programming languages I should focus on to enter the field of AI? Hari, I think for AI, the lingua franca still remains Python. If you understand Python quite well, then you'll be able to use most of the Python-based libraries, not only for training models, for building pipelines and deploying models as well. Having said that, there are also some specialized libraries or languages like JAX from Google. But if you are starting out today in the field of AI, I would recommend that you start out with Python. Next question is from Sharath. Can you give your advice on transitioning from a different domain into AI engineering? That's a very good and practical question, Sharath. And I think a lot of you might be in a similar situation right now. So you should keep in mind that your domain expertise is very relevant, right? Even if you are, let's say, a non-technical person, but have deep domain expertise. Let's say you're even a doctor or a lawyer and have worked in that field for 10 to 15 years. And now you're excited by AI or how you can adopt AI in your own domain. You should definitely, with the advantage that you have of the understanding of your domain, try to identify what are the problems. Let's say start with low-hanging fruits, use cases that can be solved quickly, let's say, which may not even require you to code from scratch, right? You can just call some APIs, whether it's from OpenAI or other platforms, and see whether these models are able to give you performance or solutions which might work out of the box, right? And once you build a minimum viable product, then you can see how to continuously improve and iterate. This you can do this much on your own, but if you feel that you have reached the end of your sort of technical understanding, it's worth partnering with the people who are in the IT or data science or machine learning teams in your company, or if not, try to go through some of the courses and other links that I've shared in terms of trying to understand yourself how it is to become an AI engineer and see whether you're able to do that, right? The easiest way for you to apply AI engineering problems is at your own company. If you, with the benefit of your domain knowledge, can convince the leadership, hey, that can we solve this problem using this generative AI tool, then that might be a way for you to quickly get into AI engineering and then build on from there, depending on your own interest and availability of budget and the company's roadmap, etc. You can see how much further you can go within your company, or else if you really take a decision that I want to switch from my domain to AI engineering in absolute terms, then you have to prepare a lot to get an interview. You need to be upskilled in programming like Python, understand data, understanding of machine learning, deep learning, etc., etc. Right? So that journey will be different and much longer, but it depends on what your personal goals and ambitions are. I'll take the next question now from Junaid. What should I start with if I want to build applications using large vision models? So again, Junaid, let's say if you have identified a use case that you want to create, let's say, images for advertisements, right? And you can, let's say, based on just text input or a text prompt, it is possible today. So if I will encourage you to start with a solution that you can quickly build so that you can continuously iterate and improve on. And depending on the use case, it might be that just calling an API from, let's say, a company like, Midjourney or Runway ML might serve your purpose already, right? And then you can see how how your system is performing, which is built on top of this API, and what are the areas where the model is not working as well, and then you can try to customize away some of those aspects and come up with a unique solution that no one else has out there, right? So depending on the use case, I'll try to build something quick, which works, and then continuously improve using other technologies or even collecting your own data set to improve upon your system. Next question is from Tony. Hello, I am a student of deep learning. I'm supposed to come up with a project. Is Python the foundation of AI learning? What resources do you recommend for a beginner? Hi, Tony. So as I answered previously, Python is something that you should start with if you're at the start of your journey in AI. And in terms of resources for learning Python, again, some of the platforms that I mentioned, like Coursera, have courses on Python. You can even look at courses from Stanford, MIT, and even there are lots of good YouTube tutorials and channels out there. So I will try to pick one course which you think is good and go deep into that, rather than try to spread yourself too thin and cover many courses at the same time, right? You'll build more confidence if you stick to one or two good courses and go deep and try out all the problems and assignments in that curriculum. Next question is from Lubem. Hi, I studied chemistry at the bachelor's level, and I've done some courses in data science on Coursera, Cisco, and World Quant University. While preparing my CV for a role in data science, should I include the BSc in chemistry degree? Hi, Lubem. I think, yes, you should definitely include that. But at the same time, you should include projects in data science that you have built yourself in your spare time. As I mentioned during my presentation, your education, you should not try to not put it on your CV, but highlight and emphasize more your skills in data science, which might be relevant for the job or company that you're applying for. Okay, next question is from Sohail. Can a person get a job after learning deep learning models, even if he doesn't have the knowledge of application development for deployment? So Sohaib, it depends. You might be able to get a job even if you haven't worked on serving the models. But what I'm seeing on the ground is that the role of data scientist or AI engineer is becoming full stack, right? That you are required now to know everything from raw data, model training through to deployment. So you will have more opportunities and even better opportunities if you understand and are confident about the end-to-end ML pipeline. But having said that, depending on size of company, the scale of company, there might be specialized roles where you're only required to train models, build new algorithms, and so on. So it's also possible to have a role that just focuses on building deep learning models. Next question is from Solihana. What are the opportunities for AI in education and examples of implementations? So again, Solihana, personalization of education, like course curriculum, and also on the side of teaching, where you can come up with curriculums that are personalized to each grade for specific fields. I am also seeing AI applications for grading assignments, for reviewing essays, and so on. So again, it depends on the problem you're interested in, but generative AI is truly a breakthrough for education, and we'll see a lot more changes in how education as a system works and academia as a system works in the coming years. Next question is from Mohammed. Given an overview on the production of Model A and Model B in terms of data drift and concept drift to hold integrity, also tell about good metrics and the components in terms of model evaluation. So Mohammed, this is a very technical question, and I'm not sure if majority of the audience would have intuition, but I'll give a simple answer so that everyone can understand. Mohammed is asking about how do we evaluate models in production systems. When you're comparing two models, one of the models could be already in production and you've come up with a new model. So what happens for models in production is that the distribution of data that they're responding to in the real world is continuously changing. So there is a drift. A data drift. There's also concept drift where the underlying use case or the problem that you're solving itself has changed meaning. So it's important to evaluate different metrics, whether it's related to performance, latency, throughput, and also do, let's say, qualitative surveys from your users to see whether the quality of their experience has changed, and try to dive deeper into the models themselves and to analyze the errors, see whether you can include new real world data to further improve the model systems, and how often you should do that, right? So I hope that suffices for now. Hafiz asks how to learn Python language and how to use Python in AI data science. Hafiz, I think this question has already been answered, so I'll move on. Aliyu asks, how many hours per week does one have to dedicate to upskill in AI? Aliyu, it totally depends on your bandwidth. If you're a working professional with a day job, then you might only have a few hours at the end of the day in the evening. But what I would suggest is to pick a few specific courses, let's say some of the ones that I've shared, and go deep into that so that you can build confidence, build momentum. And if there's also a community which is trying to go through this curriculum at the same time, then you can also benefit from getting your questions and doubts cleared through them. So there is no such magic number, but it totally depends on your interest, motivation, and bandwidth. Stephen asks, other than Streamlit, is there any other open source web app hosting platform that doesn't have memory limitations for deploying AI apps? Stephen, you can also check out any of the different cloud providers to see whether they meet requirements for the kind of AI apps that you're building. Suranga asks, can we learn a master or PhD in AI? Yes, Suranga. So one of the things that is changing is, a few years ago, there were not any undergraduate courses in AI, but now I see a few universities already have launched undergraduate courses in AI, postgraduate courses in masters, data science, computer science, statistics, AI are already out there. And depending on your career goals and ambitions, you can definitely go for a master's and then a PhD or directly a PhD if you have that research mindset. Here, I've completed ML course from Coursera. What would you suggest next? Here you can go through some of the courses and platforms that I mentioned in my presentation and see what makes sense for you in terms of your own specific learning journey. Sohaib asks, AWS or Azure certification? Why do engineers or data scientists need these certifications? What is the value add after these certifications? So, Sohaib, as I mentioned, like a lot of companies and startups have their underlying infrastructure based in these cloud providers. So if you go through their, let's say, training program and certificate course, not only will you know how to build, not only will you be able to build faster for your company, you can also benefit, let's say, if you're just learning, you can share the certificate on your LinkedIn profile, put it on your CV, and this will give some evidence to the hiring team that Sohaib is a candidate who has gone out of his way to learn this course, which is a very pragmatic certification, and it might look good on your profile, and you might even be able to use that knowledge to build and showcase AI apps. Next question is from Abdi Rahman. I recently graduated from university. Is it good advice to start my AI journey now and what to focus? Yes, Abdi Rahman, it's, I would say, never too late to start your journey in AI. In terms of what to focus on, I will throw the question back at you in terms of what is it that you're really excited by? Because there can be a lot of FOMO out there when you see people working on different kinds of solutions. So you should focus on your areas and domains of interest, problems that really excite you, and try to see whether AI can solve that problem. And if yes, how, right? And then if you go down the rabbit hole, you'll figure out all the different nuts and bolts that are required to build that solution. And from there, you can continue to upskill and progress. Emmanuel asks, is it necessary for a data scientist to have knowledge in designing APIs? Emmanuel, I wouldn't say it's necessary, but it depends again on your team and company. In some companies, the model is productionized as an API for the end customer. So it would be relevant in such cases to know how to design APIs. Otherwise, a lot of models are deployed, in Kubernetes and other frameworks, and that also works well. Okay, I think I have answered most of the questions in the Q&A window. If there are any other questions, let me see the chat window as well. More questions. Yeah, the slides, I've already shared the link. It's visible on this particular slide. And you can feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and Twitter. Please go through the IABAC handles of the different social media handles and engage with the team. And there's a feedback form, Google form for you to fill out, for you to get your certification. And yeah, if there are no more questions, then over to you, Ram.
I myself have a question.
Sure.
This is from a bigger perspective, Sandeep. Like now you're seeing the models, like the predictive models, right?
Yeah.
And very soon, even the prescriptive models also are going to be coming through from different, what do you say, from reinforcement learning.
Hmm.
So there was recently a talk in the World Economic Forum where actually they said that now that they can predict what is good for the population of any country, they
Hmm.
are saying like we can go ahead and use the prescriptive models of AI to
Hmm.
remove even the process of electing and elections and all. When there's apprehension of AI penetrating in so many fields of our day-to-day life, right? The
Hmm.
ethics side of things is what's keeping people awake at night. So,
Right.
what is your take on this being like kind of a double-edged sword in terms of how cautious in terms of ethics should we be looking at?
Right, right. So I think, Ram, that's very interesting and thought-provoking question. But to some extent, I would say that we have faced these questions previously as well with the rise of new technologies, right? Let's say, from internet to smartphones. When smartphones came out, nobody at that time was talking about addiction to screen time. And now you have companies like Apple and others that build these gadgets already include measures to reduce our screen time, etc. So I would say the same applies to AI as well, to some extent. AI is truly transformational because it's a learning system that need not be hard coded and learns patterns in the data. And what we see with these big, large language models and vision models and multimodal models is that if trained, if they are scaled to very, very big size, and if they're trained on large data sets, the size of the entire internet, they can truly learn a lot of patterns which typically earlier were being done in a very modular way, right? So that is the power of these new models, and it is reasonable to expect for the sort of general lay person to be a bit apprehensive about the power of these AI systems and how they can be used for malevolent intents. And that is a challenge, I think, for all of us here who are planning to work in AI, to build systems that are trustworthy, safe, reliable, without any biases, so that when it comes to applications or use case problems like elections, interference, and we might see a lot of disinformation, which is also being talked about a lot in the media today in the run up to elections, let's say in India and the US. Uh, AI again can be used as a tool to tackle these challenges. So my take is that we have to be, I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic because I would say that the benefits or the power of these models outweigh the cons. But it is the responsibility for each one of us to build systems with an underlying thought process and approach that also understands the potential dark side or pitfalls of building these models at the same time. And but at the same time, I'm very excited that these technologies are truly opening up and are reaching a lot more of the population of whether it's India or the rest of the world, and already serving value to each and every one, right? And we will see the penetration of AI and the problems they're solving only increasing with greater adoption of these systems and more talented workforce entering into the field of AI and building truly scalable and reliable AI models.
Hey, yeah, thanks, Sandeep. And to everyone, please join us at IAPSC to become an authorized training partner and enhance your educational portfolio by gaining exclusive access to our vast resources, to affirm your commitment in providing top-tier professional training programs. So please explore our wide range of certification programs at iabsc.org. We offer a host of avenues for professional advancement. And please take the first step towards a globally recognized certification in data science, artificial intelligence, and business analytics. So please visit us at iabsc.org for more information. And we'll all keep you posted on the upcoming events by email and across all our social media platforms. So uh, looking forward to uh, connecting with you all soon. And please visit Sandeep at sundeeptki.org for more. And thank you all for attending today's session. And all of you have a nice day, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you again, Ram. Thank you for joining. Wish you all the best in your AI careers. Thank you.
Thank you for the crisp presentation, Sandeep.